Welcome to the Rules Don't Apply show, where you discover successful entrepreneurs and all the rules they have broken that led them to their success today. Sweet. Welcome to another episode of the Rules Don't Apply show. We're here with Hinckley Ropati. That's it, right?
Yes, sir.
He is the son of Lina and Polonga Ropati. And you're from California.
Yes, sir. Yep. Yeah.
You're Samoan and Tongan.
I'm Samoan.
Samoan. Yeah, let's go! Hey, I was hoping for it. Hey, man,
I'm outnumbered in this piece right now, dude. Come on.
It's all right. So he's Samoan, I'm Tongan. We're hanging out with you today. So here's my co-host for today, Austin Freeman. We're so excited to have you here. I know that you have a very super freaking busy schedule, but thank you for being on the show.
I appreciate you guys for having me, for real, man.
Yeah.
It's an honor, seriously.
Yeah, sweet.
Because I've been following you ever since you posted that video about your story, and I was very inspired. I was moved by your story because I deal with a similar thing too. My mom passed away, and dude, I was like watching it. I was like, oh, come on, and man, you have such an inspired story, and I want to dive in a little bit into your story today, because I want to know how you deal with all the things that you were dealing. I don't know how you do it, man, but yeah, just walk us through like your journey. You're the running back, number 7, BYU football. Let's go.
Why BYU? I mean, I feel like for me it was kind of the obvious choice. At that time when I, in high school, the way it all started, I grew up playing football, and the dream was to play at this level, right?
Yeah.
This level, and I felt like I've already faced a lot of adversity in high school when it comes to size wise.
size-wise.
I'm obviously not the biggest guy, and so in high school I had to deal with that. And I remember my junior year, BYU actually came out to recruit me, and they weren't interested anymore. They came out and they saw how small I was, and they just told me straight up hey, I don't think you're gonna be able to fit our our offensive scheme or whatever it was at that time, and it was definitely demoralizing to hear that, one of the schools that I've always thought that I wanted to play for. And so, I kind of just put that in the back of my head, and I always wore that it's like a chip on my shoulder, and continued to work. It was my junior year. I still had another year to play and prove them wrong or whatever it may be. And they never did offer me in high school. And so I at that time in high school, all I had was just, some Division II, small Division I schools at that time. And then I've always decided to go serve a mission. And so that was always the plan anyways, to go serve a mission. And so while I was on my mission, I knew that I can play at this level. And so I went the junior college route. And that's when I went and I played at Cerritos College back in California.
Okay.
And so I did my freshman year there back in 2019. And then, everything just kind of worked out. It was crazy. All the colleges that I've always wanted to play for, started to reach out at that time. And so it was cool. BYU ended up coming up and recruiting me, started to recruit me pretty hard. And I think it was a pretty. I felt like I didn't want to come here during that time because I just had this animosity towards them. Nah, they didn't even want me in the first place. What would I come and play for you guys now? But with everything that's happened, my mom and my dad has always had that dream of me playing for BYU. Playing for the school that represents our faith. And I've always had that dream, and I think they reminded me very quickly, hey, this is somewhere where I think you should consider to play for, And after a lot of prayer and dealing with a lot of things at that time, it was actually the time when my mom passed away, when I was making that decision. And I think it was just very, at that point in my life, when all these good things are happening, when you start to see your dreams start coming true to playing at this level, and then all of a sudden something like that happens, it was just kind of, I don't know, I was definitely, it was definitely a curveball, not just for me, for my family, right? And so, took a step back away from all of it, and then finally realized, where I needed to be. And I felt like the choice was pretty clear, that this is where I needed to be. And I've been here since then. And honestly, man, there's been so many blessings since, that I've gotten since I've been here. More importantly, my wife. I met my wife here, got a lot of great things happening now, baby on the way and things like that. So I feel like that's been the biggest blessing. This, besides being able to live my dream to play football, I feel like that's the biggest one. So yeah.
That's cool. I want to touch on something that you were talking about, because a lot of people don't know, being a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and then playing football and getting a D1 scholarship. It's how was that decision made to go serve a mission? Because a lot of athletes, if they're a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, they'll go serve a mission. Like, how hard was it to make that decision? And then like, no, okay, this offer it could go away when I'm on a mission.
No, I mean it's a real thing that athletes face, right? And I think the most important thing is like making that decision way before that time even comes. And I felt like I made the decision when I was in primary, when I was young, and my parents have always taught us that, especially my dad, he's always drilled into our head like our duties as priesthood holders, what I mean? As people of this faith or as men in this faith that we need to go and serve a mission. And I feel like I've never really doubted that. It's weird, and I feel like I've been blessed in that aspect to never really doubt. I feel like when it came to my faith, I feel like it's one of those spiritual gifts that I've always been lucky to have, which is never really have any doubt. I feel like I've always believed wholeheartedly, which is not the case for everyone. And so I feel like making that decision very young, when it came to that time, I've always knew that like serving a mission was not, was always going to be the go-to after high school. So whatever colleges was coming at that time, it was like, hey, this is what I'm doing, and it's up to you guys whether or not, And it's because there comes a time when my junior, senior year, I'm like, man, should I be telling coaches, like I want to serve a mission? Because you know what I mean? Like school started talking, and it's like, no, like I've always knew, like, no, this is what I want to do, and I want to be very transparent. And so I actually committed to Dixie State because I felt like, they're familiar. It's here in Utah. They're familiar with missionaries, whatever it is. So I committed to there before I left on my mission. Did defer my scholarship, and then 6 months before I came home, I realized like I can play at the highest level of college football, and I knew I can. And, that belief in myself was strengthened even more when I was on my mission. And so, I came home and kind of I feel like if it wasn't for the mission, it wouldn't have prepared me to make those decisions and be where I am today. So
where did you serve your mission?
So I served in the Philippines, Quezon City, Philippines mission.
That's crazy. So what language did you speak there?
So I spoke Tagalog. Yeah, Tagalog is like the national language there, and so it's awesome. And I still use it to this day, so I love it.
That's cool.
Crazy part for me was watching, that story that you posted up on Instagram and see your transformation from high school. Because you posted up a picture of what you look like in high school.
Yeah.
And something that you touch on, you talk about like how you grew spiritually.
Yeah.
But then you added on is like, I also grew physically.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the picture, I'm like, holy crap, man. Like, what did you... You just became massive. That was my favorite part. There's so many... your story is such a great, inspiring story for me. And when I'm hearing your story, I recently spoke at state conference last week.
Oh, wow, let's go.
And when I hear your story, because one of the questions was asked, it was about... I have to answer why I decided to be a follower of Jesus Christ. Why did I decide to be a disciple of Jesus Christ? And for me, it touches on Nephi. I share the scripture. Nephi started off and he says like been born of goodly parents, right?
Yep.
Thought somewhat about like the concerning of his father, and he hop on and he talk about like having seen so many affliction on his days, but he was highly favored of the Lord. So when I hear your story. And you talk about your parents a lot, right? Your mommy and your dad, the roles that they play, right?
Yeah.
That brought you to this moment. And you've seen so many affliction in your life. Yeah, you're like, no, I was highly favored. And I'm still here today. And for me, that's the reason why I stuck onto the faith. I just love everything that you share today. It's like, holy crap. But yeah, let's just talk about like your parents. What role your parents play in your life and in your career and everything that you're doing right now?
Oh, it's massive. Like the role that my parents play and like the way I think, the way I perceive life, the way I approach problems, right? It all started from the way my parents brought me up. My dad and my mom, we're first generation here, right? And so my mom was literally like, I think like 6 months pregnant with me when she came to the States. And so, they came here with the dream of, obviously, pursuing a better life. But I think the biggest principle that they held on to, and I'm so glad that they did, was that God comes first before anything. And that was just, I feel like that was just something that they drilled into our, in our heads, me and my siblings growing up. And I feel like it was never really a thought. I've always just known that no matter what, like Heavenly Father comes first. You know what I mean? If I strengthen my relationship with Him and put Him first in everything that I do, everything else falls in place. And that was always the saying. Growing up, I remember in high school thinking like, dude, this is so annoying. What do you mean? Like if I put Him first, everything else is gonna fall in place. But it's so amazing when when you actually just listen, humble yourself and just, you just do exactly that. You strengthen your relationship with God, and it's crazy to see all the other opportunities and doors that begin to open. You know what I mean? Because you finally allow Him to take over and just, be the pilot, right? Like that saying. And so I feel like that's been the biggest thing my parents taught me, and it has helped me so much in a lot of things that I've gone through, and all the trials that I've been through. It's really just to hold on to your faith. When you don't got nothing else, like, just hold on to your faith, because I feel like that's the one thing that's gonna, when you hit rock bottom, it's gonna project you forward and continue to help you push through whatever it is you're going through, right? And so, yeah, man.
That's cool. Yeah, let's talk about the rule that doesn't apply to you, because you talked about being smaller in high school. Did you use that as fuel to get you to where you are today?
Oh, most definitely. I've always been the type of, like, growing up, I've always been the kid, like, if you told me I couldn't do something, like, I'm just gonna go do it just because you're telling me to not do it. And it's a good thing and a bad thing, because I was also with my parents. My mom would say, "Hey, don't do this." And I was that rebel that always wanted to do it. And so, they say, like, smart people learn from your mistakes, and then smarter people learn from others' mistakes, right? And so I got to experience a little bit of both, a lot of my life here. But I feel like that's one thing that's helped me a lot, is really just that drive to prove people wrong. People telling me that, oh, you can't do this, or you're too small, and things like that. And so it just fueled me, because I've always grown up as the smaller kid, you know what I mean? And so I always took pride in being the fastest, you know what I mean? Doing this, all the whatever physical attributes I had better than others, I like to, prove them wrong using those things. And so I felt like that mindset definitely carried me over to like, do the mission, even now with football, and so just having that mentality where, like, you really got to be your number one believer, you know what I mean? Like, if I feel like that's one of the biggest things that I took away from my mission, is that, like, you got to believe in yourself more than anybody else, because I feel like once you lose that belief in yourself, like, in my opinion, it's useless. Like, there's nothing you can't really accomplish. You can't really go for, because that foundation is completely gone, And so, but that's really what's helped me.
No, it's awesome, because for me as well, like, hearing that, you're also, like, not only proving other people wrong, you were proving yourself right the whole time. It's like, yeah, you tell me that I'm small. No, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm fast too,
Exactly.
So that's just, like, amazing adding into your story. And you said that you have a baby on the way. I saw the announcement. It was a baby girl.
Yeah.
How excited are you, dude?
I'm so excited. I'm gonna be honest, man. I was shocked. Have you seen the video?
Yeah.
I think I saw, like, the pink color come out of the cannon, and I just started, like, trying to adjust my eyes to make it blue, and I was all like, it's like, man. And I think the reason for it's because, like, it's not that, like, I didn't want to grow, but it's like, I think I like told myself, okay, it has to be a boy, because I feel like if you mess up or whatever, it's like, whatever lessons I teach, I can learn, and it's a trial kid, you know what I mean? I don't want it to be my girl yet, and so, but I'm hearing from, like, talking to everybody else, they told me, like, having a girl first was the best thing ever, and so we're super excited, and so, like, now I'm looking forward to it. I'm like, yeah, I can't wait for September, if I'm being honest. And so I think, if I'm being completely honest, I feel like I've never been so excited for something besides my marriage, like, for something like this, to come since, like, outside of football. And so it's cool. It's awesome to see, because you start to learn very quickly, like, yeah, there's so much more to life than just, playing football and, chasing this dream that I've always had to play in the NFL and stuff like that. And, all these other things that's happened in the last 2 years has just been like, man, like, I'm super excited for life after football. And so it's been good, man.
Hey, man, if you need some help on some advice of, like, being a girl dad, here you go. My boy
really?
Right here.
You got 2 girls? Oh, let's go. Oh, yeah, then that's for sure.
I gotta
talk, man.
Quick.
It was the same. Yeah, it was the same for us. I was so convinced it was a boy. Like, even my wife was. It's a boy. It's a boy. And then the moment we found out it was a girl, I was like,
oh man. Like, it's like the nervousness.
Oh yeah, I was like, oh my God, I don't know how to deal with this. But it's been the biggest blessing. And then number 2 is, like, we were convinced as well it was a boy. So when we found out, my wife was like, what? Again? Because she's like, we were like, all right, I don't know how many kids we want to have, but I'm thinking maybe 3. And then we were like, if it's a boy, maybe we'll stop at 2. It's a girl. I'm like, we can't stop.
Can't stop. Yep. You see her face?
Look at her face. Her face. She's like, what? So I'm putting out to everyone in the universe.
Oh yeah,
God,
gotta get that boy.
I gotta get that boy.
Yep, I know. I get it, man.
See, my oldest is a boy. I have a
Oh,
boy,
that's
and
awesome.
then
Yeah,
I have a
that's
daughter.
good.
So I lucked out early. I don't know what I did. Stuck to the faith, man. Stuck
Stick to the faith. That's what it is.
Stick to the
Hold
faith,
on to
man.
the faith. That's
Hold
right.
on to the faith,
That's
man.
what it is.
Because I was the opposite. I wanted a girl first.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why, but I wanted a girl first. And then it was a boy. I was like, oh, okay. And then the second one, I was like, okay. Like, I wanted a boy. I wanted another boy. No, and then I have a girl. So maybe wish for the opposite so you can get.
Maybe I should.
Maybe.
Yeah,
That's my thing.
Good tactic right there. I should put that for the next one, huh?
Yeah. So starting with BYU, you had an injury.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about that injury.
Yeah.
Because I can't imagine the adversity you have to go through to finally get onto a D1 school and be like, all right, like it's happening.
This is it, yeah.
It's happening.
Yeah.
And then get hurt. Like what is talk about those feelings. Like what did you feel and how did you get through it?
Man, I think a lot of people have this like perception that like when it comes to injuries that it's, oh man, it sucks, you can't do this, you can't do that. It's like physical. But it's like mentally draining more than anything, if I'm being completely honest. I think that's the hardest part, is the mental part, right? I feel like physically, yeah, you come back from the injury and you're good, but then mentally trying to like trust your abilities and get back into that and getting over that mental hump that you can make these certain cuts or do certain things, right? I think that was the biggest part. It's just staying mentally locked in and not feeling that your world is over, you know what I mean? Because athletes are dramatic when it comes to, at first, and everybody does it, right? And so, but then very quickly you start to understand like the bigger picture, like, hey, you know what I mean? You got to go through the rehab, do this and that, and you'll be right back to it. And so I feel like, and also a part of it is also just like, I feel like I've been through bigger trials, you know what I mean? There's people that are going through way like harder things. They're fighting for their lives out here type stuff. And so like, I just felt like having that perspective also made me realize that this obstacle that I'm going through is very insignificant. It's not that big of a deal, you know what I mean? Just continue to trust the plan and I'll get right back to it. And so it was tough, coming back. First year just got here, excited to play. And then boom, torn ACL, right?
It was like it was the second break this.
It was literally it was like literally within like the first like I think 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
And it was going good. Like I just got here, I'm just learning the playbook, building relationships with the players and stuff like that, and then all of a sudden, boom. And so like you just got here and now you're injured and you're not even and one thing that's hard is like when you're hurt, it feels like you're not part of the team because like you're hurt and now you're not practicing. You don't want to be in the way. You don't feel like, you know what I mean? So like, you go like you kind of just go like I always think about it. Have you ever seen that picture of Superman in like a tank? And he's just like, loading up. Like I feel like in a way you're just like super isolated. You're just trying to like work on yourself, and it's really hard, And I feel like that's the mental, like that's the hard part. That's the mental side of things, where it's like you're really just fighting with yourself. You know what I mean? Like you belong there. It's okay. You're gonna get back. And then was able to get healthy by next season. Was still dealing with some things, and then finally 2022 was able to play, and then got back into the scene of things, and started a couple of games, and it felt really good to get back into the groove of things. And then boom, last year when you think that you're gonna have this breakaway year, and then I get hurt right before the first game of the season. Last year, tore my left knee. And so yeah, definitely injuries have been a huge part of I guess a part of my journey here. But nonetheless, I feel like it's definitely strengthened me mentally, and I feel like it's helped me a lot. And so I'm looking forward to this year. Praying for more injuries, and that's been the biggest thing. Now it's just like my head. I feel like when it comes to practices and everything that I do, like I prepare in a way. It was like, okay, gotta stay healthy. Like I feel like it's a conscious decision to like, hey, today you gotta stay healthy. When I go out there for practice, even in spring ball, like man, if I gotta get out, I get out. I don't even try to take unnecessary contact. Like I'm just like, hey, we gotta get to the season. Let's not even try to. Before I was like that hard-headed kid that's like, man, I wanted to do everything. Like, man, if I get the ball, like you're gonna know that I'm running the ball. And so like I'll go out there. I'm coming. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna give it to you. But then it's like, then you start to understand like we're not gonna win games. Like doing all this. You know what I mean? I got to get to the season and get healthy and be available for that. And so it's been good. Yeah.
Yeah, because you had mental strength to go through JUCO. How tough is that to go to JUCO and know like, all right, I want to get to the next level. What do I do? How do I do it? Yeah. It's like you've got to get your mental game up. So did you build a lot of your mental strength there at JUCO?
Oh, for sure. But I think it all started like first on the mission. I feel like that was the biggest thing. The mission definitely like, I feel like that's where I really like mentally became a lot stronger. I feel like that's where the foundation of like me believing in myself, believing in God's plan. Because I came back from the mission, like I can't even like when I tell people like I came back so much more confident, not necessarily in myself, but in God's plan for me. That like it exuded everything that I did. I just felt like you just walk around like not like that you're the man, but you walk around like, dang, Heavenly Father's plan for me is real. Like He has a plan for me, and I'm gonna trust it. And I'm gonna go in all that. So like I feel like that's the real experience that definitely built my mental. And then when I got to JUCO, JUCO's not for everyone. You know what I mean? Like I tell people all the time, like I think it's a great route. If you were overlooked in high school, whatever it is, or you were dealing with grades or whatever it may be, like JUCO's a great route. But I tell people like it's not for everybody. You know what I mean? Because like I was working at 9 to 5. I was working graveyard shift from like 11. I started at 11 and got off at 7. And then after that, crazy. Right after that, I'll go to workouts because we had workouts first things in the morning. And then I had class for the rest of the day. And then I have practice. And then after practice, I literally would just get my 4 hours of sleep and then wake up, do a little bit of homework, and then I'll go right into, right back into, and I was doing that from, I think the only days I had off was Saturday nights. So I was working. And so, at that time, it's funny because at that time you never really think about it. I look back now, it's like, dang, like you was really out there really grinding, like, but I feel like your ambition, like my ambition at that time to just play at this level, like I just honestly, you didn't really think about it like as much, you know what I mean? It was just like, I was just so mentally focused on like my goals to get here that I was just like, I just felt like it was just another thing to do. I never really thought it was really hard, you know what I mean? You just kind of just go through it and you look back, it's like, wow, man, you went through some stuff, and so it definitely helped a lot with mental build, yeah.
So how was like serving in the Philippines?
Oh man, it was the best experience, man. I love it. The plan is to always go back. Serving the Philippines, the people there are so like humble. You know what I mean? I think that's how it is in any third world country. You know what I mean? Like they're just super humble people, super receptive of our message that we had, and like, yeah, we didn't deal with what a lot of the missionaries did here in the States and other places, right? Where like all the closed doors and stuff like that. Yeah, we had some of those, but for the most part, they were very. I think that's the hardest part is that they were so nice that they will continue to let you in and lead you on, and you're just there every single time, and then all of a sudden, like, they just disappear on you. You know what I mean? Like, either they like just don't open the door and act like they're not home, but like the biggest thing there is just like they always let you in for the most part, and it was awesome. Learning the language. They're like just smaller Polynesian people, if I'm being honest. Like that's really how I think about it. When I was out there, I really felt like, man, these guys are just like their morals and their ethics, like it's like aligned with a lot of the things that we have polys, respecting your leader, your elders and stuff like that. Just the respect amongst those that are older than you and so forth. The family atmosphere, and so like I felt like I was just at home. It's weird because I've never was considered like big growing up right here in the States, and you go there and like they look at you and like, man, you're fat, you're a giant. That's literally was my nickname from a lot of the kids, like fat mataba, like oh mataba, like elder mataba. I'm on like elder fat, and I was just big to them, and so I felt good. I loved it. I mean, being called big it was a different experience for me. I was like, okay, let's go.
How did you deal with the culture shock, like going from the U.S. to the Philippines?
I think I loved it. I mean, I feel like for me it was just like I looked forward to that experience like since I was young. Like I remember thinking like my cousin served in the Philippines before.
Oh
and
wow!
When he came home from his mission, I was like a sophomore in high school, and I remember just hearing all the experiences. And in my head, I'm all like, man, I need to go somewhere like that. And so when I got my mission call and it ended up being the Philippines as well, I was already ready to go. Like I was ready to go out there and have those experiences, tried those crazy foods he was trying, and like, yeah, it was. I think I was definitely prepared before, So yeah.
So preparing for a mission and going on a mission, most people, I mean, some of our listeners aren't LDS, so they don't know exactly what it's like. What is it like to prepare for a mission and then go on a mission? And I mean, there's hard work on the mission.
And the schedule.
Oh, most definitely.
Talk about the schedule.
Is just like, it's just like so structured.
No,
so talk about that.
Preparation wise, like, I feel like the biggest thing is just like, I don't know. If I'm being completely honest, when it came to like preparing for a mission, I did the very basic. You know what I mean? It was like, okay, yeah, you read your scriptures, you know, whatever it is, prepare yourself to be worthy to go on the mission and all that. And so I did what I needed to do. But then once you get out there, you realize real quickly, like, oh man, this is a whole different world. Like,
Like I don't know anything.
It's different from the MTC.
yeah, it's like the schedule, like
Oh, yeah.
everything, like how like exactly it is, and it's like, oh man, like this is not what I thought. Like I thought it was gonna be like a cool little vacation. You know what I mean? Like yeah, we're gonna go preach the gospel. At the same time, we're gonna have some fun, and it definitely was. I feel like when you do it the right way, right,
Yeah.
and you go out there and you live to the standards, and you like follow the schedule to a T, right, or to the best you can, right, and then I feel like the fun is in the work, doing the work the right way, and I feel like that's what I learned very quick, like gradually as I was out there, and yeah, so I feel like when you get out there, you know, I always tell people like whatever reasons you have to get out there, just go, because I feel like the real reasons why you stay, I mean, you'll find out really quickly when you're out there, you know, the real reasons why you should be there, and I feel like so whatever like mustard seed of reasons that you have, just go on it, you know, and then let it grow. When you get out there, you'll find out really quickly the real reason why you should be out there, and I feel like you start to understand why you were really meant to be out there, and so.
Yeah, so my little sister's actually starting at home MTC next week.
Oh, let's go!
Monday.
Yeah.
She's going to Atlanta, Georgia, and then my little brother-in-law, he's starting the home MTC next week as well.
Yeah.
So I keep telling them because I serve in South Texas.
Okay. Yeah.
And I thought when I tell people that I serve in Texas, they think about the barbecue and
Yeah.
No. I went to little Mexico.
Yeah. There's a lot of Spanish speakers there, right?
Yeah,
a
it
lot
was
of
about
Hispanics.
like 95%
Yeah.
of the people speak
Oh,
Spanish.
sweet.
Yeah, so now I'm confused with 3 different languages. So yeah, I stumble through my words all the time, and I'm like, man, yeah. That's why he'll throw some words, and I'm like, hey man, can you speak like you speaking to a Tongan person?
Yeah.
You're speaking very expensive language right now. Come on, man.
It's a good problem to have, man. Knowing that many languages, I think it's a good problem, man.
So what's your schedule now? Then now that you're in school and it's a D1 athlete, like what's your schedule look like?
Yeah. So, luckily, like honestly, my schedule is a lot lighter than it used to be. I'm probably gonna tell you it's a schedule, and you think like lighter. How is it lighter? But like, so I graduated this past semester, right? And so I finished my bachelor's already, and that was kind of always the goal. By my senior year, I wanted to just focus completely on football, right? And so I don't start my master's program until this fall, and so I might as well get a head start on it since I'm still here at school, right? And so, yeah, right now currently I'm just doing internships for my classes, and then usually it's you wake up, right, mornings, you have your internship, I deal with all my classes and stuff like that, and then I prepare and get ready for football. People understand, like, football takes most of our day. Like, it's a literal job. I'm there from those facilities, like, doing football related things from like usually like around 11:30 or 12, and we don't get done usually till like 7:30 or 8. Dang. And so it's a combination of practice, workouts, film study. And that's really the 3 things that you're doing during your time over there. And so it's lots of meetings. Yeah, we usually, that's the biggest thing, just meetings of just watching film and just repetition, watching the same reps over and over again. And I think people understand, like, that's the biggest part of football is like the mental game. They don't see like all the preparation that goes into it. Saturday we come and it's just you go out there and play, but like the hours put into before that. At first I thought like it'd be like high school, like I'd show up to practice. After practice done, we just go home, play my video games, and then wake up the next day, do it again, and then show up Saturday and we just play. No, it's not like that. It's not like that at all. Like, I got here and I think like I realized very quickly how little I knew when I got here to BYU. Like, I thought, like, because you come from a place and you realize you learn very quickly when you get here, like, everybody that's here, they were all stars and they were big time players and in their respective rights in their high schools, right, or wherever they play at in their areas. And then you get here and now you have like everyone's just as fast, everyone's just as strong. So now what separates you guys is here, right? And so like, and the only way you can get mentally have the edge on someone mentally is like preparing, watching film, and doing the smaller things like that, right? And so I feel like that was the biggest adjustment coming to college ball. Like, it's definitely a lifestyle. It's not just a hobby or a sport that you just play, right? And so, and then you get paid for it, so you got to take it seriously, right? And so they pay for your college, they pay for your tuition, you know what I mean, and things like that, and they take good care of us. And so when I first got here, I like I said, I realized very quickly how little I knew about football. Like, I thought I played this sport since I was 8 years old. Like, I know everything I know. Like, I came here as like, I think, and as a running back, I came here like I think in like my first 3 weeks here, like I learned nothing but like defensive like fronts, defensive like schemes. I didn't even touch the play. Like I was learning the playbook. I was learning the playbook, but like really, that's what my coach was emphasizing a lot. I'll come in. He was like, man, I didn't even know what was the difference between a 4-down, 3-man. I just thought, oh, these guys are just on the line. They're D linemen, whatever, and just, and so you realize really quickly what, like, and you start to understand what separates, the high school athletes from the college and then from this level to the next level, you know what I mean? And it's really mental, and so, yeah.
Yeah, so how did that affect you with like with your mom's passing? How did that affect you with the mental game? Because you talk about mental game is very important. That's what's going to separate you from the other players. So how did that affect you, and how did you get through it?
Yeah. Man, like I said, like I felt like the biggest thing was just relying on the faith that I had, right? It's kind of funny. I think I told this story once before, but like on my mission, I think I spoke at like 5 funerals on my mission. I was asked to speak at 5 funerals. It was like just random events, like something that just happened on the mission. Somebody passed away in the ward, and for some reason they asked me to speak at that.
Oh,
And I always thought to myself, like, why do they need me to speak? And the Philippine people, they hail the missionaries. They love them, and they think that, like, at this time of need, that the mission needs to be the one to speak at the funerals. And so I never said no. So I was like, yeah, for sure, I'll speak at the funerals. And I remember during that time when my mom passed away, that's one of the first things that came into my mind was like those experiences and trying to comfort those people. You know what I mean? And I feel like during those experiences where I strengthened my testimony and really grew a testimony of the plan of salvation and the plan that Heavenly Father has for families. And so despite like going through that with with everything that happened with my mom and our family, it's like I feel like that's definitely what I had to fall back on. My testimony that like I'm gonna see her again. Obviously at the moment it's not right the first thing you think about, but like after after the dust settled, I felt like that was the biggest thing that was there, and I had to hold on to was that like I'm gonna see her again, and I feel like I mean that whole experience and you guys will know if you right, experiencing someone, you lose someone, it's like every night you're going to sleep thinking like, man, just wake me up, wake me up from whatever this is happening, because there's no way this can't happen to me. I knew people that were going through this stuff, but for some reason you just never think it'll be you, and so to lose like our mom at that age, at that time of our life, I still have 4 younger sisters that were still in school at that time, and it was just like for me in my head I was like, well, what's going on? Like my dad, like I love my dad, but all he does is just make the bread. You know what I mean? He's a great priesthood holder, does all this stuff, but my mom handled everything. Like she was definitely the backbone, the brain, everything in our household. You know what I mean? And so losing her was like, it was just like it was almost close to losing 2 parents. You know what I mean? Just because she did so much, and so, and our family knew it, and so learning how to navigate through all that, I feel like that was the biggest thing. We just relied on our faith, Heavenly Father, and His plan that we'll see her again, and just did the best we can. And look back now, it's like I think it's her 4th year anniversary this coming up. Yeah, this 4th year, and I think it's just crazy, how time flies, and you just look back, it's like, man. We're doing it, barely, but we're doing it, Family's getting through it, and so, yeah.
I'm going to ask you a very personal question. It's probably one of the hardest, it was easy, yet the hardest question I've been asked all my life. And every single time I'm on a show, they ask me the question. I would like to ask you the same question.
Yeah.
If you get to talk to your mom, what would you say to her?
Oh, man. Why are you doing this right now? Shoot. Honestly, the first thing I just want to tell her, I love her, because I didn't get to like say I love her, like before she went off, it was kind of just a very quick experience, and so just to let her know how much I love her and miss her, and how much like we're doing everything we can to make her proud, and I feel like that's like the biggest thing, I feel like every day, whatever it is that I'm going through, I just think, what my mom is watching right now, like I feel like that's the biggest thing. It's like what do I need to do to make her proud? And I just want to tell her, like, I want to ask her, like, am I making you proud? Am I doing all the right things? And so, and really just simply just tell her I love her. I don't think there's really much words. I think it would be I don't think there would be much being said, or much would be said if I was to see her. I think I just want to embrace her and just be with her in that moment. But yeah, man, that's a good question. I don't think I've ever been asked that. Yeah. Sorry.
No, I think it's a good thing for a lot of people out there to hear because my mom, not to get too much into my personal stuff, but my mom this last year, she was diagnosed with breast cancer. So hearing your story, sorry, I don't
No, you're
mean
good.
to get
man.
emotional
Yeah.
either, but hearing your story, I mean, it touched home for me because she had to go through a lot this last year. And so seeing my family and us rallying around her and being able to say like, hey, we all know that God has a plan.
Yeah.
You know, like there's a plan there. And seeing her go through that, it's like, man, I didn't think I could see anybody go through the strength that she was able to show to us, you know. And so that popped into my life all of a sudden. And I mean, fortunately, like she was able to beat it and she's doing good now, but it's like, man, you don't realize you're like doing life, and then all of a sudden something like that happens. You're like, whoa, like it can mess you up mentally.
Yeah.
So
seriously.
yeah, I mean, man, I commend you for what you're doing and the lives that I feel like you're changing, especially around your family and close friends, because when somebody goes through something like that and they can come out on top, it's like even more to them, you know. So
No, most definitely. I agree, man.
it's difficult, but I think honestly, like seeing your story and what you've done and what you're doing right now, it speaks volumes. I feel like it speaks volumes to a lot of people. Just that you can get through whatever you're going through right now. It's only temporary, and if you can get through that temporary whatever you're going through, if you can get through it, like you never know what's on the other side.
Exactly.
So
And I truly believe that. I mean, we never get to heal through it.
Yeah.
We just learn how to go through our day without them, you know, being in
Sure,
it. But
yeah.
knowing at the end of the day, I mean, they're there watching over me. And for me, when I'm going through my day or whatever it is or whatever journey I'm on, I know she's there. She's smiling. I'm like, yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
You know, I got this figured out, right?
I think the same way. You know, I remember the first time like, she's always been there for everything, right? And I remember the first time I scored my first collegiate touchdown, right? And I had my breakout game, so you can say, like, I just remember thinking, like, man, she had the best seats in the house, you know? And I just, like, that in my head just kept, you know, like you said, like, you don't really completely hear from it, but you just learn how to go on without it, right? And just deal with it. And so you have plenty of moments where, like, you know, I'm sitting there and I'm just like, dang, like, you know, it just hits you. She's really gone. You know what I mean? Like, wow, that's, you know, just something that, but then you just learn how to, like, you know, get through it and learn how to let that fuel your, you know, your drive and continue to motivate you and, you know, push you to, you know, get through your goals and get through whatever it is you're going through. And so,
And now you're married. You're about to have a kid on the way.
yeah.
What role is your wife play in everything that you're doing right now?
Oh, big time, man. Like,
We're grateful for all our wives.
no, I'm being serious. I feel like I've told this to her. Like, the only regret I have from being married is not doing it earlier. You know, because my wife, she's like, I honestly think, like, now, like, seeing how I am now with her, it's like I don't know how I function properly without her. You know what I mean? And because she's definitely keeps me on my toes. She keeps me in check. She really does. And then she also, like, honestly, it inspires me so much. She's been through her own personal, you know, trials and goals and things she's been through. You know, she was an athlete. She's dealt with multiple injuries and all these things that she's gone through. To, you know, she played soccer at the collegiate level, you know, and things like that. And so, you know, having her go through those things and understand, you know, how it is to, you know, how hard life can be, whatever it may be, and things like that. I feel like it's only been strengthening for me. I definitely rely on her on everything. Like, like, it's funny because, like, before I was, like, married, people would say all the time, like, oh yeah, your wife, like, people say jokes like, oh, she's like, they're your better half, you know? And I'm all like, what, better half?
Yeah, right?
I'm a better half.
What you
Like,
talking about?
like, you know, you think yourself like, oh yeah, man, I'm the package. Like, you know what, this and that, like, whatever they bring, you bring. No, man, she is definitely like what, like, me compared to her, man. It's like, you can't even fit in this room. But, like, I feel like that's one of the biggest thing that I'm so glad is, like, I married up, like, big time. Like, if you guys meet my wife and talk to her, and I'm pretty sure it's the same thing with your guys, and people tell you that, and you know very quickly, like, dang, I'm so glad I married up. You know what I mean? Because, like, now I'm right now, the way things work and in our household, like, not only she takes care of so much, she does so much for me, but like the mental side of it, you know, or whatever it is I go through, like to have that one person that sometimes I feel like she knows me better than I know myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so to have that, I think it's very, it's a huge blessing, you know. And then now we're having a you know, another girl coming in, you know, in the picture and stuff like that. And so it's even more exciting. And so I tell people all the time, man, like even my teammates, like, you come into college and you're young and, you know, like they get here and it's like party and hang out and you know what I mean? And like, oh, all these girls like go for it. I tell them like, hey man, like don't mess around. I'm telling you right now.
Listen.
When you find the right one, trust me, man. Just lock it down, bro. Like don't even like before she finds out you're not worth your, you know what I mean? Like lock it down because I told him like I'm so glad she's because like we dated for almost 2 years before we got married. You know what I mean? About like a year and some change, right? And so I was telling him like, man, I'm glad, you know, we locked it down. We got it set before she found out, you know, anything else, you know. So it's like I'm telling you, man, like. And so, yeah, but it's been the biggest blessing, man. I tell people all the time, since I've been here, despite all, like, you know, whatever it is I've done in the field or in school and stuff like that, there's no greater blessing than her. And then now, what we got on the way. And so I'm...
There was a talk by a person, Hinckley, and he was talking about how we have recent converts and we're not giving them callings because people were having a hard time giving them callings. And he said, think about when the Lord calls you. Exactly. And when you were talking about like, hey, marry them right now before they find out, right?
Exactly.
You think that you're the whole package. Yep. It's like, nah, man. Nah. Like, think about when the Lord like marry you to your wife.
It's just the box, man. Yeah. Not even the whole package, just the box itself,
empty
man.
Box. Hey, one of the review. One of the feedback that we got about the podcast because we did a episode with the wives.
Yeah,
and it was I was just dying laughing because the feedback was it's like, oh, what was your favorite part about that episode? It's like, oh yeah, man, you guys' wife, they sound so smart, and you guys are just sitting there random, right? Yeah. So when you were talking, I'm like, yeah, man, your wife makes you look smart. Like we're over here looking smart, look like we've done everything until they sit down and the people see like, you know, the behind the scene of everything.
Yes,
and they're like,
it's a
holy
real thing,
freak,
man.
they don't even do anything.
I feel like when people meet my wife and then they look at me, I think they always have like this like big old question mark in their head, like, why did you pick him? And I'm just like, you're just sitting there like, hey, man, I lucked out, bro. It's just how it works, man. So yeah, man, it's awesome though.
Yeah, the wives are definitely they're the rock for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always been. I mean, it's like being an entrepreneur. It's like so hard to. It's so hard to juggle everything you got going on, and I mean, with a kid on the way, it's like, it's like adds a whole new aspect to your life. You're like, do I have time for this?
Yeah, no, exactly.
So
I feel like for me too. I mean, I think another thing that I should add, like I said, like, you know, your belief in yourself is like, in my opinion, one of the biggest foundation, like one biggest part of your foundation you should have, right? Believing in yourself, and then when you have somebody that believes just as much as you do in yourself, like it's a whole different ball game. Like for me, I feel like at times I feel like she believes in me more than I believe in myself. You know what I mean? I'll come home and I'll be like, dang. I'll tell her about certain things that happen and things like that, and then she'll like, you know, I don't know how she does it, but every single time I just feel I walk away or go to sleep knowing like, oh yeah, I'm solid. Like, you know what I mean? Like whatever happened that day, like scratch that onto the next. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. You just have that mentality. It's like you just want to get better, not just for your sake, but for her. You know. And so it's been a very great experience, man, so far, bro. And we've only been married for what? I think 11 months.
Oh, really?
We hit a year next. Make sure I get this right. Next month. Next month, April 25th.
I gotta get this right.
Yeah.
You gotta get that one right, man. You gotta get that one right.
It's just 1 year. I don't need to be.
Yeah, I saw this video of this lady. She was like filming her husband. He walks into the room. She like calls her in the room and she like is filming him. She's like, "So what's today?" And he was just like, "I don't know."
Oh, I've seen plenty of those videos.
Oh yeah.
I've seen plenty of those videos.
There and he's like, Then she tells him the date and he looks at the date. He's like, okay. Had nothing to say. Just left him stumped.
Yeah, I feel like that sometimes, man.
Yeah, man. Don't forget anniversary, man. So if we don't get to see you on the football field, we'll understand.
You'll know exactly.
You'll know where
you'll
you're
see me playing this season. You'll know exactly where I'm at. It's not
like,
because I
yeah.
got injured, man. This time.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, he just, yeah, the door just fell on him on his way out.
Exactly.
So yeah, how excited are you to play this year? I mean, coming off injury, like what is it? What are the feelings? Describe some of those feelings, like nervousness. What is it like?
Honestly, I'm super excited. Like I feel like my preparation since being hurt has been very different too. The way I eat, my wife knows it too. Like I think I went for a long time thinking like I can eat whatever and I can still play the way I play. You know what I mean? But then when you get to a certain point, like you, we all know this, when you get to a certain point, your body starts talking back to you. You know what I mean? You're not that 18, 19-year-old that can just get out there and don't even need to warm up and just start playing. You know what I mean? Like I think I take about like 2 hours to warm up my knees and body and like so like the preparation for me to get into and like maybe I'm over exaggerating like how long I should be prepping, but like I do it because I understand now like this is how my body works and I need to so I feel like all the preparation or things that I'm doing right now in preparation for this season, it's making me I'm like I tell my wife all the time like man I can't wait till September. Like I feel like I've just been it's just so much pent up like I don't know explain it, energy. Like
Give it to me right now.
like man, I was just when I tell you like I couldn't watch like the first injury was like okay, my first year here like yeah it sucked, but like I was still young, you know what I mean? But now that like I'm on the back end of my career here at BYU, you know what I mean? On the way out and stuff like that, like I don't know, the sense of urgency is very different, the point of accountability to myself is very different. Like I wake up, I eat certain things. Like yeah, I'll still splurge here and there, but at the same time, like I make sure I don't get a certain weight. I'm checking. I've never weighed myself more than how much I've weighed myself now. It's just like I feel like the preparation, the way I'm preparing now for this season is definitely a lot like just so much more preparation. So I was like I feel like it's just so much excitement. I'm ready to go, man. I'm ready to I feel like I'm a cannonball in a cannon ready to get fired out and just go. So I'm super stoked.
What advice would you give just anyone in high school working their way up, just trying to like get to that level of playing like D1 or playing a college level?
I think the biggest advice that I would give to like young athletes is just to be in the moment. You know what I mean? I feel like a lot of times it's great to have goals and have these like aspirations and work towards them. But I feel like a lot of times what it does to people who like really want to get there is that they forget that like it's all small moments. It's all like
small moments
added up together. Like you know what I mean? Because like for me, it was like when I got here and I achieved this part of my goal. It was like I look back and I'm all like, dang, I'm here. Like it wasn't like, you know what I mean? I feel like I focused on. That's one thing that helped me a lot was just focusing on the moment. Like even when I'm with my family, like I don't care about football at all when I'm with my family. Like I'm being honest. Like football is great and all, you know what I mean? It's a means of life and it's a way I want to provide for my family in the future. But like it literally means nothing. When I'm with my family, I just want to be with them. You know what I mean? When we're in meetings, hanging out, and I'm in the football facility, yeah, nothing else matters. You know what I mean? I focus on football. When I'm in my meetings, I try to focus on that. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's the biggest thing I can tell like young athletes. Just be where your feet at. You know what I mean? Especially with technology nowadays. You know what I mean? It's easy to just be. Yeah, it's easy to just be somewhere. You're like watching a game. You're going to a friend's game, right? Catching a friend's game, whatever it is, and you're on your phone. You know what I mean? I feel like when you're in the moment, it just helps you. I feel like appreciate those moments more. You know what I mean? So then when you get to your goal, I feel like you did it the right way. You know what I mean? And you feel accomplished. You know what I mean? You don't want to get to the point and all of a sudden you're not prepared for the moment. You know what I mean? So I feel like just being in the moment is the biggest thing I can tell people. Yeah, just be where your feet at, man.
Be where your feet at.
Hey, that's what Kobe Bryant said the same thing when he was talking about like it's about the journey.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right, and that like speaks volume about like just being present.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
You're about to be a father, man, and it's
man.
freaking hard like being home.
I've heard, man. So
yeah, like
it's really good though. It's really good.
It's really good.
Yeah, it is.
Not trying to scare you guys, but
I'm not trying to scare you, but like. You should be. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, kids a while, man. They're amazing.
Yeah.
So this week, Easter week.
Yeah.
And then next week is General Conference, man.
Sure.
I remember being on a mission, and on a mission we was like, all right, like come up with who are your starting five.
Yeah.
And we're hearing starting five, and we go through like apostles and prophets. It's gonna be my point guard. Like,
That's funny.
yeah, that was
that.
like on a mission. It's like that will be my starting five for this Sunday session.
That's so funny.
What are you looking forward for this next general conference?
I think the one thing I love about conference is that like you're not really like there's nothing new. You know what I mean? It's the people think like it's conference gonna, but there's really never like a new principle being taught or new doctrine being revealed. Right? It's really the very basic things just kind of just reiterated to us. You know what I mean? And their testimonies of the living prophets now. They're grown testimonies since from the last conference to continue. Sharing that testimony to us. And I feel like that's one of the, in my experience. In my opinion, the best part about conference is being able to hear the testimonies of the living prophets and those that Heavenly Father appointed to lead and guide His church today. And so, it's always been that way. And I feel like that appreciation grew because of the mission. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Relying so much on the Spirit to do certain things and so forth. And so, that's one thing I'm looking forward to. And also, I'm giving a talk the next week afterwards based on anything on conference. So it means a little more. I gotta pay attention.
I gotta listen. I can't fall asleep.
I can't be over there in and out of certain talks. But no, so I feel like that's what's making this one a little bit more. I got to give a talk the next week in our ward based on conference. So
yeah, one of the most awkward part is when you go to church the following Sunday and they were talking. It was like, "What's your favorite part?" And people were sharing. I'm like, I don't remember that part.
I haven't watched that part of the replay, but I'll get to it.
I'll get to it. Hey, all I do is just look at all the quotes because usually people post
quotes,
it up like certain quotes.
Yeah,
and stuff.
the
I was
quotes.
like, yeah, somebody said something.
Yeah,
like
something
that.
like that.
I remember that.
Whatever's the highlighted quote of that talk, man, I just memorized that part. Yeah, he talked about that. Yeah, I remember.
No, I'm excited because they usually announce all the new temples and stuff. Yeah,
that's also exciting too. Yeah.
The whole accountability and when they break out numbers and stuff.
It's
That's
pretty
usually
crazy.
my favorite.
It's pretty
just
cool
looking
how they
into
do that too. Yeah.
Yeah, like all like the effort of the members and stuff, man. It's always it amazes me.
Yeah.
Every single time I watch it. So, yeah, that's. Yeah, man. Yeah, you gotta pay attention to this next one, man. I guess you're giving it.
Sure. Yeah, I got to, man. No, I'm excited, man. It should be a good time, man. So, and then we were off of football. Tomorrow's our last day, and so now you can just
Are you excited?
I'm excited, just get the body a rest, you know what I mean, recover. But yeah, I could just be with the wife and hang out. We're planning out some things right now for the month, and just it's nice to have a little break. You know what I mean? It'll suck if it was just all football.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you gotta have your breaks, and so yeah.
I gotta ask you this. So looking through your schedule, is there like a certain team that is in your schedule? You're like, oh man, I always wanted to play them so bad.
For me, I don't know.
What is like a dream opponents for you?
Oh man, I think it would be we played them. When we played them, I didn't get to play like that that year. I was at that year. I was still dealing with my injury, and wasn't like well versed in the playbook and things like that. So it was back in 2020. We played against or 2021. We played against USC. So I grew up a USC fan.
Yeah.
Like I'm even nowadays. I'm not gonna lie. Every now and then I'll take off my BYU cap and be I'm
gotta rock it.
I
Yeah.
grew up like through and through an SC fan, loving SC, the culture there and stuff like that, and so yeah, that'll definitely be like someone that I would hope to like play maybe in a bowl game or whatever it may be down the road. Now with this new playoff bracket that we got, that would be super cool to play against them and actually play, and like there though at the Coliseum, you know what I mean?
Oh,
I went there.
so cool.
I went there. I think that year, and I wasn't able to play obviously, and so but just watching and being there in that moment, just being on the field, warming up, I'm like, oh man, like this is an experience. 'Cause I grew up watching games here, you know what I mean? Literally seeing some of my players I used to idolize play in that, Reggie Bush and things like that, and so forth. And so like I feel like that'll be a dream opponent. But for now, like the Big 12, the dream is just to get to the Big 12 conference championship, and whoever's there, man, that's who I want to play. So yeah.
When is your first game?
Our first game is September, if I'm not mistaken, 6th, I think.
Is it like a home game?
It should be a home game.
home game?
Yeah, we're opening up with, I think it's Southern Alabama. I'll have to check on that. But like the only game that's like in my head right now that I know off the top of my head is September 13th, and it's Wyoming. It's not because I'm looking forward to it, because that's when my daughter's that's when she's due. So that's what
Whoa.
my wife is due. So like
So like praying, like
she's September 13th is Friday before the game, and Saturday is the game, right? And so like we're over here thinking like, oh, okay. So I talked to my coach and stuff like that. Hey, you know, that we already figured it out. If I got to fly out on Saturday, you know, for the game, 'cause we usually fly out the game before. And so I was like, hey, babe, if you can just hold on to it a little longer.
please.
Or
for
if
the
you
team.
can go earlier, but that's not how it works, right? So it's like, you know, yeah, that's why that day's really, and so, but yeah, it works.
My son was born in September too. My oldest.
Okay, yeah, see, September, man,
That's awesome. Yeah, we'll be there. First home game. Let's go.
Let's go.
get it.
Yeah, let's go.
All right. Well, before we end, I want to ask you a question. If you could leave something with our listeners, what would that something be?
I think I feel like the one thing I can leave with everybody is just I saw this somewhere and I think it's super like a testament to like my journey too. Is that you don't really need to know the whole plan in order to begin, right? I feel like a lot of people think like my wife's gonna hate that I say this because she's such a planner and she has to have like everything planned out to a T. But I am, in my opinion, I feel like I think the most important thing you have the end goal in mind, right? And you have that end goal in mind and so forth. And yeah, you know a little bit what you need to do to get there, but I feel like you don't have to have every single thing figured out. And I mean, even as entrepreneurs, I feel like that's also how life is too. I mean, you ain't gotta like exactly how you want your life to pan out. The way to get there might be different, for everyone, and you might have to adjust. And I feel like that's one thing. I feel like people you don't have to have the whole plan set, just begin. I feel like just once you start, I think that's the most important thing is just starting, beginning on whatever it is on your journey and just keep going. And also keeping that faith in Heavenly Father and understanding that He has that great plan for you and that He's gonna be there to bless your plans and help you get to it. And then He'll be there along the way to, push you and adjust you when needs be. And so that's one thing that I feel like I can leave with the viewers today.
Hey, you hear from the man himself. Don't prepare, begin.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Like
Thank you so much for being on. I'm honored to have you on here. I love your stuff, and I'm looking forward to this season. So
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna be there cheering for you.
Oh,
Appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys for having me, man. It was awesome, brother.
Thank you.
no problem.